Yeah, welcome to What's Broken. Got a little project here. My spare tire for my boat trailer. I've been just leaving it inside the boat and, haul it out, put it in the car or the truck, put it back in the boat. And been doing that for a couple of years, so I'm getting kind of tired of that. Thought I'd build a spare tire rack. Got looking around my garage and I had one old boat pedestal which will come into play for it, and then I found I think it's an old trailer shackle bolt, and I already got started on this. I tried to buy a sort of a square 3" by 2" U-bolt. Couldn't really find any. Found some that had like a 7" thread on them, but I would have to finish rethreading, and they wanted like $8 a piece, so I got started on this already. I took the one U-bolt, this one, and just did some careful bending and some hammering, and got it pretty straight. So now I can mark off about 3 and maybe a 1/16" throat, and I'll bend those so it's into a square U. But I think I'll get started on this other one. I'll straighten it out. Got a bit of background noise going on here. There's some fellas down the alley running a sandblaster on something, so I'm gonna have to sort of put up with that. So to get started, I got about a 3-foot chunk of, I think it's 5/8 rod, and a jack handle, leaving the nuts on so I don't bugger up the thread. Flip this over. Oh, a little too much. Then I'll just start working this. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I'll get it a little straighter. So going to be a bit of a noise alert here. That's probably good enough. So these are about 8 inches long. And I want, what, 3 and maybe 3 1/8 in between. So 3 would leave 5, which would be 2 1/2 on each side. But I want just a schnick under 2 1/2. Two, 3, 4. Yeah, let's make it about 5 1/16, 5 1/8. That'll just give me a rough idea where to put it in the vise. Actually, maybe I'll go this way. The winch support on the boat is 3 inch by 1.5 tubing, so I need, 3 inch to fit over, and then a little more than 2 1/2, or sorry, a little more than 1.5 coming out. Oh, it pulled. Yeah, that's about 2 3/8. Maybe try to finish off the bend. Well, it's pretty close to square. As long as I have minimum of 3 inches. It can be a little sloppy, I just don't want it to be too tight. Oh, don't forget a nut. Don't want to mangle the threads. Like I say, it'd be a lot easier if I had heat, but I don't. Now that can come back a little bit. Outside's looking pretty good. And I've got, oh, yeah, 3 1/8. So that'll work for that one. Yeah, I can tune those up a little bit after. There's one U-bolt finished. Almost did that backwards. I'm bending it nice and slow so it doesn't overstress the rod and crack it. Yeah, pretty close. That one's a little wider. It's about 3 1/4. So it'll be a little sloppy, but again, once it's bolted in place, it'll work. So from the face of this, it's 3.5 inches. And I want to allow an inch. So I'll make from face to face 4.5 inches. So basically when this is done, the U-bolts will fit around that upright where the winch is mounted on the boat, that rectangular. So this will be flush against that upright, and then I want 4.5 inches to this side. And these are sort of convex, so they're about 1/2 inch, and I want 4.5 inches, so I'll make this 3.5. Then I'll cut this off with my cut-off wheel, grind it up, weld it to here, to the stub, and then drill some holes. As well, this flange will have a couple of holes drilled, and I'll weld some 1/2 inch bolts out, which I'll mount the spare tire to. But yeah, for now I need 3.5 inches. I want a total of 4.5. And to give a nice square cut, hopefully, I got this wraparound I bought from back in the days when I used to be a welder. It was a long, long time ago. Basically, you just line up the edge, and then you can make a mark around a pipe. For a nice square even cut. It's 3.5. This is going to be a little noisy. I'll flip it over and cut this weld off. Well, it took a little longer to cut, probably because, you know, the metal hardened a bit when they did the weld, and the weld itself is probably a, how would you put it, not higher, has a higher hardness than the mild steel. So it took a couple of minutes, but I'm going to take some time with my flapper disc, clean all this up, maybe pre-drill the holes for everything, and then we'll glue it together. And the disc I'm using, these are, I think this one's a 60 grit. I pick them up at Princess Auto for the watch for the sales, and you can get, you know, 6 or 12 for a pretty decent price, so work pretty slick on this. I think I'll drill the holes a bit farther out, give me lots of room to play with. Yeah, it should be pretty close.
That bit could use a, well, it could have used some sharpening. Now I just need a new one. Try this one. I wonder if this stuff has hardened at all. I wouldn't think so, but yeah, maybe.
Might have grabbed the wrong one. Yeah, that's better. Whoops. Well, maybe put it in the vise. That might save me from smacking my hands up when it catches. Yeah, that'll work. Oh, I think that's a little off. Yeah, it should be pretty close. And back to the vise. Perfect. And set the tire on here, kind of eyeballed it to center. Should be close enough. Well, they're a little bit off. Maybe I'll try to correct that. Looks like they have to be about 4 1/4. Make a mark across about the middle. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like my first boss used to say, you're not building a piano, unless of course you're a piano builder. It wants to kind of slip around. Come on. Yeah, it gives me something close to work with. So I lost some footage. Apologies. This camera just up and has a mind of its own. It shuts off now and again. But I got the holes drilled. Hopefully they're close to the right spot. But I had a couple of bolts here somewhere. There we go. Yeah, good. I set the tire up on some 4x4 blocks just so I can get my hand underneath. I buffed off the surface so I could weld. Also decided to put these 1/2-inch washers. I'm going to weld them on this side because this metal's pretty thin and it's probably somewhat hardened. So welding just the bolt right to it, there may be some work fatigue over time and cracking, but if I tack weld a washer to the plate and then weld the bolt to the washer, it sort of spreads out any stresses that are on it. Just going to put a nut on each of them because that'll help to bring the bolt in sort of square. Because this mount that I'm making is slanted, you know, there's going to be a gap on one side. So I want the bolts to be perpendicular to the face of the mount. Just by putting a nut on, it'll keep everything in line. Okay, I got the ground on. Go get a couple of tacks on the washer and the nut. I'll just finish getting a little more weld on it. Well, that should do it. It's not going anywhere. Whoops. Almost had that upside down. Just going to put a weight on top. That'll help hold it while I get everything centered and squared. So I got everything all squared up. Just get a couple of 3 tacks on it to hold it in place. I turn the setting on the little buzz box down to low because this stuff's pretty thin. I don't want to blow through it. Like I did right there. Whoop. Yeah, these little flux core wire feeds, yeah, if they're working okay, they're not terrible. And they're easy to use given that they're 110 or 120 volt or whatever, so. I'll let it cool down a bit and then finish off the last third of it. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And then to keep the nuts from backing off or coming loose, and if you want to lock the spare tire, I'm just going to tweak this up. It's a little warm. The reason I want it on the bolt is to make sure I don't get any spatter inside the threads. One more little tack. Now for the other half of it. Those cool down a bit and then I'll show you how they work. So I took a minute and ran a tap through both nuts and a 1/2 inch die over these bolts. Basically, just do them up hand tight. And then that little clip just prevents either of them from coming too loose. And if you want, you can put a padlock through it instead of a clip. Yeah. I'm going to take a minute now, probably use some brake cleaner. Just give it a bit of a wipe down and then spray it with bed liner. And I might have mentioned in another video, I tried that Duplicolor truck bed coating. Didn't like it. This Rust-Oleum, I buy this at Princess Auto. It's $1 more a can, but I think it works better. Just my humble opinion. The Duplicolor kept clogging up, so hopefully this won't. Yeah, the Duplicolor would have clogged up 3 or 4 times already. And I tried 2 or 3 different cans and got the same result, so. Whoop. That'll keep things looking beautiful for a little while. So through the wonder of technology, we'll teleport right from here in the garage out to where the boat's parked and install this. See you in a bit. Okay, out here just going to mount it on onto the boat trailer. hopefully all the measurements are going to work out so the tire sits without getting in the way of anything. Well, that turned out really well. It won't interfere with anything. I left that extra inch for clearance, and it looks like it misses, you know, the winch and the bottom bracket. Alright, well, thanks for hanging out. We'll maybe see you on the next one, and have yourselves a wonderful day. Bye for now.